What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Wealth Not Weight. I'm your host, as always, Coizza, and in today's episode, we're talking about something that's extraordinarily important to basically everybody here. The gist of it is living your truth, being yourself, and expressing yourself fully, experiencing yourself, loving yourself, and everything that pertains to you expressing yourself to the world. The best way for me to do that, I don't know all of you. You know, there's about 110 of you as time of recording this. Some of you I get to talk to a little bit, some of you haven't, some of you, obviously I don't know at all. The best way for me to do that and to help, I feel, is to tell you who I am. And I think that going through my story and seeing what I've done and the things that I've done and been through to figure out who I am and what I want and the things that I enjoy and how I express myself, especially in this kind of capacity, I think is hopefully something that maybe will resonate with people and help them out along their journey. We're going to skip ahead a little bit to elementary school. We're not going to do that. I was in New York. I was a New Yorker. I don't like any major sports teams. Sports just isn't my thing. And that goes back to knowing yourself and expressing your truth. I don't do sports. Sports just isn't my thing. I don't like them. Maybe it was something with me being the fat kid, and maybe it was just not something that entertained me. I remember I watched one Knicks game, and I was like, this fucking sucks. Maybe it's because it was the Knicks. I don't know. I'm in a fantasy football league, even though I fucking hate watching sports. I don't go to any of the Sunday games or anything like that, but that's just it. In elementary school, I was kind of the it kid. I was in the gifted program. And I was like, the one who's always expressing himself. Like anytime my mom would come pick me up, they'd be like, "Oh, you're Joey's mom, huh? My daughter loves hanging out with your son. Oh, hey, you're Joey's mom. Yeah, we wanted to invite him to a birthday party. This, that." I was like the fucking kid who was like, I was the one in elementary school, and a lot of it was because, of course, yeah, I'm so great and all that, whatever. But I expressed myself. I wasn't afraid to be me. Especially at like a young age, you're not instilled with a negative belief of beating you down. I was very much the kid who was just going out, I'm gonna do my thing, you don't like me, it doesn't matter, I'm just having fun. And a lot of people resonate with that. And later on in life, now, as you'll see, everybody resonates with that. That's the goal. And I was told from a young age that you could be anything you want. I wanted to be an inventor. I thought that was a job. I wanted to own all these like businesses and create all these things back before the word entrepreneur was in my vocabulary. I probably couldn't even fucking pronounce entrepreneur, let alone spell it or know what it was. And that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to invent things. I wanted to help people. I wanted to create things. I wanted to be creative. And I wanted to go out and just help people the best I could in this creative, fun, energetic way, just being myself. I was exceeding at things, I was like the second fastest kid. I was never like the fastest kid or the most athletic, but I would be up there. I'd be doing stuff. I was in the gifted program. Later on, I found out in middle school, I was always like, what the fuck they call it the gifted program? Why am I here? Why am I doing this? It's for people who thought differently. And that's something that's affected me and my mindset and everything all throughout my life. And now that resonates a lot more with me and something I think about consistently. It's for people who think differently. Especially at that young age, I wasn't afraid of other people's opinions. I was just being myself. Something else that kind of shows my prowess and my things that I enjoyed, I like making up little comic books. As you guys can tell, I'm a fucking big comic book nerd. I like to read. I like playing with toys. If you guys know anything about me, I'm a big collector and superheroes this and superheroes that. And that's my fucking thing, right? And I love it. And ever since I was a kid, I'd make up these little comics. I wish I had a fucking thing to show you. I used to have a little statue on my figure, but I probably put it away in the garage somewhere. And he was the superhero, kind of like Superman, kind of not quite. Maybe like a mix, almost like an Iron Man plus a Superman type of thing. And he was this awesome character who'd fly around, shoot lasers. He had a jetpack, and he'd ram into people with his head and his fucking super strength. And he fought this big robot dude. And I'd make up these comic books at my dad's work, and I'd sell them. And I did pretty well for myself. I make like 10, 20 bucks, a day. I like 2 days a week, maybe at least once a week I go to work with dad. And I'd sell it to dad's coworkers and whatnot. Everybody would love it. And it was great. That was my prowess. I printed on the copier. I had no overhead. I print it in color. I use up all their color ink. I use up their paper, their markers, their pencils, everything. I had no overhead. It's probably the best business I ever had. Right? And it was great. I fucking loved it. I loved being myself and expressing myself in that creative way, and people genuinely enjoyed it because who wouldn't? You're reading this kid's thing of the superhero who's going out and doing this stuff, and I'd have little jokes. I remember this one girl was laughing. She'd be at the end, I'd beat the bad guy, and I'd say, "That's how you take out the trash." And she just thought that was the fucking funniest thing in the world. And I loved it, and that was like, something that you would see later on, and like now finding out in life, comic books are still obviously a big thing in my life, and I express myself through superheroes and stuff, and I love having somebody who's standing out from the crowd, big bright colorful costume, doing their fucking thing, what other people say is impossible to help other people. And I think that's something that really resonates with me. And because that's a lot of, maybe it's a little self-centered to say that, and I understand that that may be the case, but that's kind of how I see myself, as somebody who can do what other people say it can't be done, and try and help people the best I can. And then similarly, it'd be a much more literal sense, being in business for myself and doing things like that, and being creative. That's something that definitely resonates with me. But now moving on to middle school, late elementary school, I was starting to develop a little bit of a heavier set body. Like that chub weight, the baby fat wasn't really going away. I was starting to get man boobs, and people, especially close friends. I've had an interesting group of friends throughout my life. Some of them are very supportive and kind, and some of them are accepting but not as kind. And how it's just kind of how young kids are, middle schoolers especially. They don't fucking say whatever they want, and guys like to tease themselves a lot in a genuine manner. Guys like to fuck around with each other. So this person's way, who also has their own flaws and stuff, which maybe explains why they were like this as a kid, was very hurtful in the words of it. But it didn't really, it affected me in the beginning, and it hurt a lot, and it would be like a stereotypical bully, I guess you could consider it. But this person became my friend. Like we were friends, and we'd fucking tease each other after a while, and the pain kind of went away, and it was more something that was an underlying surface thing. Like I would call myself the fat kid. It wasn't like they were bullying me and I went home crying every day. It sucked in the beginning because I never had somebody shoot this negativity at me before or point out flaws like that. And then now I had this, and it was an adjustment, but then I decided that was more, it became arguably a part of me to be like, hey, like that's how I've teased my friends now. I make jokes, someone does something, like, oh, that's fucking stupid, we'll joke around, but they know it comes from a place of love, and that I think had a lot to be with who I am and why I express myself in that way, is because I experienced that, and that hurt at first, but I used it to grow, and then I got funnier, and I got wittier, and more banter, and I could do stuff and joke, and things started to bother me less. But the underlying issues of my weight, who I was more of a goody two-shoes, and people didn't really like that. And that started to affect me a little. And fat kid, in school, I'd be like the fat kid. Although in middle school, I really wasn't that fat. I could see if I could find a picture. I mean, for a middle school, yeah, I guess I was kind of chubby, but I really wasn't that fucking bad at all, really. But comparably, I guess you could say I was the fat kid. And that's what I referred to myself as. And it kind of became a self-actuating truth, because as I went through middle school, and I had this amazing group of friends, people from elementary school, in middle school. So again, some of them were a little hurtful. But again, that's kind of how some guys will tease each other. It's just at times we don't take it seriously, but other times it speaks to an insecurity that you have. Maybe they don't mean to do it, maybe they're just joking, but it speaks to an insecurity. And my insecurity was about my weight, whether I realized it or not. And that's kind of how I started to develop that. And then that's when you start to doubt yourself. All through middle school, or elementary school, I was very outgoing, this, that. Yeah, little girlfriends and stuff I had. In middle school, I also found that having that negative expression towards myself, not expressing myself fully, led to an awkward situation with women. That was a very difficult thing for me. Like, I realistically maybe talked to like fucking 2 girls, like 3 girls. I talked to, but like asked out, I guess you could call it, like 2 girls in middle school. So I didn't really have, have a good batting average with that, especially when you're coming to it in your mind saying I'm the fat kid. People love hanging out with me and stuff. Like I still kind of, I was the leader of the friend group kind of thing. I still see myself as the it kid. But when you approach yourself, especially as that negative mindset of the fat kid, and you don't approach it with that kind of, you're worried about people's opinions. At that point, I started to develop a real love for people, which is great. But similarly, I started to put all my self-worth into people. So I feel emotionally would have more of a resonance with people that I cared about. And obviously, if you're trying to build a relationship with somebody, you care about them. So the 2 or 3 times that I tried that in middle school, I'd approach it like, hey, I think you're really cute, looking at your shoes. Like, what the fuck's down there, man? You walk on your toes. Which, again, something a lot of people would ask about. I walk on my toes. I think I've just talked that before. Now on, later in life, nobody fucking even notices. But in middle school and elementary school, that was like the thing. Like, why the fuck does he walk on his toes? Why does he do that? And then people would find it's just a habit. And then, nobody would care. But in middle school, that was the big thing. And, I'm approaching it. Hey, what's going on? Hey, I'm Joe. Yeah, I was wondering, would you want to go out with me sometime? And obviously, you're not gonna have a good shot when you're doing that. I mean, come on, you're not gonna you negative talking yourself. It doesn't matter who the fuck you are. You're establishing that low status, sad, what the fuck going on here behavior, and it's just kind of awkward. Instead of like going at it charismatic like I was internally, being like, hey, what's going on? Hey, we're friends. Hey, maybe we're gonna go out sometime. Whatever. It was like very kind of sad to put it bluntly. It was very sad. And that's obviously it was like only like I approached it like that, and then like only 2 or 3 people. Obviously, my track record wasn't that good, so I developed kind of issues with that, thinking maybe it was my weight, maybe it was me as a person, and you start to develop those insecurities and self-doubt, and it became a very difficult thing for me. And I think something that continued then later on in my high school years with women was a very tough situation. At the same time, though, I had this duality. I also thought I was capable of such greatness, and still think I'm capable of such greatness. And something that really resonated with me, and something that still really resonates with me today, especially when I'm having a hard time, I'll put it on, and it still gets me. Like, I still tear up when I listen to it. It's Steve Jobs' speech at Stanford. I didn't have an iPhone. I wasn't really, up to speed on who Steve Jobs was. He passed away when I think it was 2009, so I was 9. And I listened to it in Mr. Colburn's class. And Mr. Colburn, if you're listening to this, thank you. You were an awesome teacher already, but something that you did like that really had a profound effect on my life in such a positive way, and I can't thank you enough for that. But that was something that really helped me, was like Steve Jobs' speech of, if you look at yourself in the mirror and you ask, if today was my last day on earth, again, I'm butchering this quote, but if today was my last day on earth, what I want to do, what I'm about to do today. And when the answer is no for too many days in a row, it's time to make a change. And that's something that really affected me, because there was a lot of days I wake up and look at myself and I'm like, what I want to do that. Obviously, I hated going to school. We'll get into that in a second. I see myself as the heavyweight kid. I was insecure about things. It was difficult sometimes, but I was still a happy-go-lucky kid. So it's hard for me to articulate. There's these times where I was this amazing, outgoing, excited, awesome person, and then other, I guess, more private times where I wasn't. And I was very hard on myself, and I was in pain emotionally, and then I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know what it was, but it wasn't like a depression, not yet at least. And it was a very kind of insecure process, especially as a middle schooler. But in the positive sense, like, that resonated with me. I see myself as somebody who can do the impossible. I see myself as, to put it again, I know in a very boisterous kind of like, oh wow, look at you kind of way, like a crazy one. The person who goes out there and makes a change. You could hate them, glorify them, or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. And I like to think I change things. And that's something that really resonated with me. And then moving into high school, again, being the fat kid, I made friends really easily. I'm outgoing, I'm fun, I'm energetic, I'm happy. And then internally, I started to build more insecurities as time went on. Being the heavy kid, I had this idea, you see pop culture going and hanging out at the football games, you have a girlfriend, and you're passing your tests, and you're hanging out with your friends. And I had, realistically, I'd say anybody who knows me from high school, I had a better high school experience than most. But there's still aspects of it that I'd beat myself up on. I looked at positive, very positively, and I still do. But there's the negative things that, again, in these private moments would really hurt. Especially then as I became definitely overweight. I was definitely the heavy fat kid. My insecurities grew. My batting average with women, if anything, got worse. It didn't get better. I wouldn't even try. And at least if you try and you fail, that's one thing. But when you don't even try, that's just sad. And again, I was this happy, outgoing person with my friends at times, and then I really developed a strong friend group, some from middle school, some from high school. I had this big group of people, and again, it was like the it thing, like, oh, you hung out with Joe, you went to Joe's party that one night, we get to beach houses, we'd hang out with people, and it would be this big thing, and it was like the fucking thing, part of me, I loved it, obviously, it was amazing. And I started to connect more with people. I started to put my feelings and emotion in, these are these people that I love and care about so much. I described it as my kids and they're my friends. I describe it as like my kids. Like I take care of them like they're my kids, and I really love them like that. And so when things would go bad, when we wouldn't talk to each other, or there'd be high school drama, it really hurt and it really affected me beyond what a normal high schooler would. Like if, you know, you get turned down by someone or your friend's not talking to you, you know, it hurts. It sucks. Obviously, as a high school, everybody who is going through high school or has been through high school remembers that. But it hurt more. Like it felt like somebody was cutting me open. It was worse. It was like picture like that, like, oh, that high school pain, but like to tenfold, because I had so much of this care and love and compassion, and myself, I guess self-worth is the way to describe it. I don't know if that's really the correct way to describe it, but like energizing into them, and it hurt when things would go bad. But it'll be amazing when things were great. When we're hanging out, when we're chilling, we go to Five Guys, we watch movies, we hang out at the restaurant, we get pizza. It was the best experience of my life. It was amazing. At the same time, I could get good grades. I'm a smart person. But high school, I realized junior year, it wasn't for me. Going in from sophomore to junior year, I realized it wasn't for me. And as you view, I have looking at the picture I have on my wall here about how I dropped out of college. A little foreshadowing that later on in life I do drop out of college. I realized it wasn't for me. I'm the kind of person, go out, start it, do it on your own, make it work. Be for yourself, as we could tell from earlier in the story. And that's something that high school really doesn't provide. High school gives you a very set path. High school and college and everything's great if that's the path you want to follow, but realize you have options. For someone like me, it's a different option I needed. So I realized then that, hey, school quite isn't for me. And then similarly, again, more relationship troubles as high school progresses. You know, I mean, everybody has relationship troubles in high school, but thinking about it, it really hurt in the moment. You know, I used to drive around in the car. This is back before I did Uber or anything. I'd leave the restaurant at night. And this would be a big thing going into junior year, so I guess we could combine it. Summer between junior and senior year, just everybody was out doing their thing, going for college, experiencing stuff. Some of them were in clubs, some of them were in Boy Scouts, you know, some of them were going for their Eagle Scout and all that, and people were like doing things with their life, you know? And I was at home and I was working and I enjoyed being at the restaurant, but then there was times where it's like, oh, these people I have all this love and care for, and I guess self-worth in, they're not around. And you're alone. And when you feel alone and the people you love and care about aren't around you, and you don't like spending time with yourself, things get real bad real fast. And it helped in some regard, but not quite. I drive around at night listening to just sad music and just sulk and just sit in this fucking, I wasted probably hundreds, if not thousands of gallons of gas. I mean, it was really that bad. Just going around and just crying and going places. I'm in Pinellas County, so going to the beach really helped me. A lot of where the beach houses were and stuff. Obviously beach houses. And it became a real problem. And then obviously you feel that way, you're not self-confident, your relationship issues aren't helping. And not having the best average at this point in time, it was only to make it worse, you know. And it became a problem. And at that point, I would latch onto and cling to people. It was a very sad, not like this. I can't even fucking think of what it's called now. When you have someone that you cling to like that, it's not self. It's fucking. I can't even think of the word for it. Codependency. That's it. It's a codependency type of thing, and I put all this effort into someone and this energy into people who. And thinking back on it, I mean, it was a lot of like kind of love bombing, the best way to put it, and they didn't really deserve that. You know, that was the only way I knew how to express myself, is just like this outpour of emotion. You know, I had this negative feeling about myself, and all this self-worth wrapped up in other people. That's how it came out, was in this love bombing kind of way, and with friends, with relationship interests, with people in general, that hurt people, people that I really cared about. And it caused problems, it caused rifts in friend groups, it caused issues. And when that happens, you become more alone. And then when you feel more alone, it becomes this vicious cycle. And then I drive and sulk and listen to sad music and hate myself and think, what's wrong with me, you know? And things get kind of dark. You know, things weren't as dark as they were before, or things wouldn't be as dark as they would become, but things get dark. And that was a very difficult process for me. And you know, anybody who was negatively affected by that, I apologize, because that wasn't fair. But that's how I expressed myself at the time. And it wasn't good. It wasn't healthy, obviously. But again, still happy and outgoing in school and doing all that. Graduation was also something very difficult because, like I said, all these people I put this energy into and love and compassion, some of them worked at the restaurant, some of them didn't. Some of them I just see, they were leaving now. A lot of them were going different places. I wasn't going to see these people. The group that I've created, the people that I love and care about, aren't going to be around me all the time now. And that hurt. Like, you know, it's everybody else deciding what they wanted to do with their life. I just wanted so desperately to cling to them. I just wanted so desperately for everything to stay the same. And I realize now that was wrong. And I realized not too far later on that who the fuck am I to do that to them? If you really love and care about these people, you've got to let them explore and go. Who am I to shelter them from pains of the world? Who am I to stop them from experiencing great things, from getting hurt, from keeping them here for this selfish gain just because you can't figure out your own fucking bullshit? Who was I to do that? And I'm glad I didn't try and do that. You know, obviously I kept in contact and everything was good like that. I did the right thing, but I never tried to hold them back despite the fact that I really wanted to. And it hurt a lot to let these people go. And again, especially, and then again, we'll go back to relationship issues. When you have someone you really care about and you kind of love bomb them and you're suffocating and you're needy, that draws people away. And so separation and then things get more negative. My graduation was, and then just working at the restaurant, I took a lot of time in my year off before I went back to college to figure out what I love. That's how I discovered photography. That's how I discovered I love investing. And doing all this stuff was just fucking great. And I learned more about myself, and I really started taking my weight seriously. I started losing weight a little bit, but then I really started to lose weight. I learned about self-help. You know, I read The Intelligent Investor. I started reading all these books. I started building myself. I built my finances. I built the YouTube channel. I started writing my book, you know, Build Wealth Not Wait, a little plug there. And I started really enjoying things that I love and finding and discovering myself in a way that I hadn't before. And then working at the restaurant and loving it. You know, I loved working at the restaurant. I started working in middle school because at the time it was owned by family friends. And I loved that. I wasn't a big go to school, learn kind of person. I loved learning, not what they tried to force me at school. And I learned all that, like at least the beginnings of it, what I love and the things I love creating. I love being out there. I love working hard. I love making money. I like making decisions and doing this and putting things together and pattern recognition and all. I love that. I love reading and learning. I love it. And that's how I started to learn a little bit more about myself. And that was kind of the beginning of who I am today in a very, very prototype kind of sense. I would cut people out of my life, some of these friends and people I knew forever. Some of them were best friends. And if they were negative, if they didn't want to go places in their life, if they just wanted to do just let's hang out and do nothing. I have no dreams or ambitions. The one thing I like to do is smoke weed all day. Like, it wasn't for me. I decided that wasn't for me. And I decided when I really started to put that positivity in my life, positivity with my body, my finances, with my creativity, with everything I love and these people, I realized that there were people who were negative, who I love and care about dearly and still love and care about dearly. You know, they're people I cared about for quite a while. But at the time I understood that if I were to continue to be around them and keep them around the people I love and care about, it would just hold us down. It would just hold us back. They deserve to be happy and do their thing. I can't go and be happy and do my thing when you're around me not doing that and kind of being an anchor. You know, it's just, I don't like putting it like that, but it's the truth, you know. And if you just like smoking weed all day and playing video games and maybe going to the movies occasionally and just living that lifestyle and you work, you do that, awesome. Like, if you're happy with that and content, great, you know, more power to you, I guess. I wanted more from that. So, but when you were together, I can't bring them up but they can definitely pull you back down. You can, if somebody wants to be brought up in life, then you can do it. You can help them. But if somebody doesn't, they're just going to pull you down. So I made a very difficult decision to cut people out of my life. And it wasn't one that I took lightly. It wasn't one that I think in the long run it worked out best, but I wouldn't say proud, even though I know this is a decision I had to make, and the best thing for everybody was to do that, including them. But it was very difficult to do that, especially people, like I said, I still had my energy wrapped up in these people, this love, so I'm cutting off essentially a part of me, especially again for people who I didn't know, who I did know, a long fucking time. I lost a part of myself. I had to remove part of me and leave that behind. And that was very difficult for me to do, as I'm sure that was difficult on them. But I knew to move forward and to be better for myself and let them flourish and do their thing and let the people around us flourish and do their thing, regardless of what that may be. That's something I needed to do. Similarly, there was also people who I was detaching from. There's people I was attaching to more. Again, it was usually the same people. I don't want to put anybody on blast. I'm not here to do that. I'm just trying to explain this as best I can. And I got really attached and love bombed and hurt these people with this emotional expression. Like, I didn't hurt them in a physical way. I wasn't negative. I was overly positive, if anything. And that's very hurtful, you know. It's very kind of cringy type stuff. Very much needy and wanting, because I put all that effort. Someone who never had a good experience with relationships in high school and middle school and thought negatively about themselves and puts all this positivity into others as far as like this energy and expresses themselves as a happy person, then kind of taking all that and this love bomb and just blowing it at someone, it's not going to end well. I mean, you know, now I realize that what the fuck was I expecting? And it was a very difficult thing to do that to people. And I didn't realize that that's what I was doing. I was just like, I'm just expressing my love. I don't understand why this is a negative thing. I don't understand why people are getting hurt by this. I don't understand why I'm now separating myself from people like that. I didn't get it. Now I do. I understand. But at the time I didn't. And then the more I got pushed away, the more I tried and cling on, and it just wouldn't work. It was horrible. Because I was expressing myself, but not expressing myself in a healthy way. I was being true to myself, but not being true to myself, getting the root of the cause. I was working with the symptoms. I wasn't working with the cause and fixing that insecurity and fixing that self-love, because if I did, everything else would have been better. I didn't realize at the time. I didn't know. You know, how can you know? I'm a very self-understanding and very self-aware person. I'd say more than most. But you still don't know everything. You figure it out, especially at a young age. We then would move on to the restaurant closing, and that was the most difficult time of my life. Right, restaurant, COVID. This was shortly after graduation, just like, you know, less than 2 years realistically. And people were leaving my life again. People going to college and doing stuff, and it hurt having to lose a restaurant. But I was already then doing YouTube at this point. I was already understanding enough that this may be the best opportunity in my life to leave. Even though it was the most painful thing I think I ever had to do in my life. Or if not one of the painful. I could name probably like 4 or 5 times I've said that, to be honest with you. And each time sucked because it was a loss. It was a loss of something I loved. I loved that restaurant so much. I loved going there. That was my sanctuary. That was my home. That was the place I started my first job at. That was my family business. That was where all the good memories of my friends were. That was where all people would go to meet. That was the hub. That was like the center of my world. And I was losing that. I'd already lost a lot of friends. I had already lost a lot of people. I was trying to improve myself, and this positive aspect I was now losing. But humans are wired to think about loss. I was very fortunate, and I guess self-aware enough at the time and grateful to realize that this may also be a gain. That's a huge fucking thing. If you could shift from loss to gains, okay, instead of I'm losing something, what am I gaining from this? That's a huge fucking thing, and that's part of how I went through it. I cried at the restaurant. I hung out there. I spent my time and said my goodbyes. It was like almost like a dying relative. for what I would imagine that would be. And I grieved, but I understood that this may be the best thing that could happen because I could meet new people, new job, experience new things, and it wouldn't be the end. It would just be the beginning of something new. If you want to see more of my feelings, I guess, in the moment, I'm a lot better place than I was when I recorded, but I have the video when I closed the restaurant. If you want to go back and look at that, I'm sure that would provide a lot of insight. I started working at Target then around that time. Red, figured color red, $15 an hour was, fuck it, why not? And I became really good there. You know, a lot of people loved me, and I was like, again, that was the it guy. And I worked so fucking hard because I was making so much money. It was during COVID, I was helping people. I'd have these old ladies come over to me and say, thank you for helping me. This is a scary time, I'm scared. Thank you. And it just felt good. A couple months into it, I realized that working for somebody else wouldn't be the thing for me, but I understood then at that point, like, it just felt good to help people. And I was making good money. I get to wear the color red every day. It sucked waking up at 8 a.m., which is fucking horrible for me, and wearing pants. I'm better wearing pants now, but I hated wearing pants at the time. I went to my interview with shorts, and the guy who ended up being my manager said, he's like, I almost didn't hire you because you wore shorts. I was like, really? What the fuck, man? And he goes, I talked out my head, and he's like, this guy's the fucking best guy I hired in a while for this job. If I get into some shit, I would trust this guy to pull me out, and I just met him. I'm going to hire him. And he goes, and to be honest, it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made here. So that made me feel really good. So I was working hard and doing it, and I kind of put other people on the back burner. Then I became a little more, I wouldn't say selfish, but more self-centered in what I was doing. Like, hey, I got to work. I'm making money. I'm doing my thing. I'm enjoying this. That's what I got to do. And then hanging out with people and all that, especially then during COVID, didn't get to see people a lot. School, some of them were away, this, that. That became part of the back burner. And I had, again, this part of it isn't my story to tell, but it's connected to my story. I had somebody I truly loved and care about go through a really dark patch in their life. And they got to the point where they had done some things that were very, I usually use the word drastic for this, but I don't want to do that. Very self-harming, I think is the best way to put it. And they were almost past a point of no return, I think is a good way to put that. Again, I don't want to go too much into it. I don't want to speak on something that's not my story, but it got very difficult for someone I really loved and cared about. And I took a lot of that blame on myself because, one, I was one of the last people to find out, I guess, or like, 10th down the line, and I was really close to this person. And this was one of the people that I loved and cared about so much, and granted, the same kind of person I would express all that to and hit them with this fucking force of love that's like, what the fuck are you doing? You need to figure your shit out. And I felt hurt, and I took a part of it on me. Like, was I too far gone from it? Was I not spending enough time with them? Did I talk to them enough? Is there something I could have done? And that really kind of put things in perspective. Like, hey, I almost lost somebody I love. And that kind of snapped me out of this whole I'm just working through Target thing. And I started to stop doing that less. I started hanging out with people around me more. I started spending more time with my family. And then when I did that, I was happy and I was glad to be around them. I started... Unfortunately, that was the first big time I stopped doing YouTube. Nobody said, hey, Joe, I would think you should stop doing YouTube, but I would do that more and hang out with them and get this kind of feeling of like, just thinking about them all the time and doing stuff. And again, putting all my self-worth in other people. And again, in a relationship context, that's not the best thing to do when you're trying to build a relationship or even a friendship. It's fucking horrible to do that. And I stopped doing YouTube. I stopped doing something I love. I started working less. And granted, I wouldn't say Target's something I loved, but I loved being around those people. And things kind of changed a bit. Things got a little different between me and my friends. And things shifted as people then also dealt with their own battles. Of course, you're going through that. It's not about me. It's not about me. It's about that person at that point in time. And they're dealing with their own demons. And I got so wrapped up in that, I stopped doing what I loved. But slowly but surely, I started to realize, hey, I like doing YouTube. Maybe not loved it at the time, but I enjoy doing it. I enjoy talking about it. I enjoy working for myself. I enjoy doing all that. So I started to do that again. Not work for myself just yet, but I started doing YouTube more and really hitting that home again. Around the time of my birthday, I think it was 2021, my 21st birthday. You guys can go back. I did a January update, and that's when I started doing YouTube again after like probably about a 6-month hiatus. And nobody told me to stop doing it. I did it on my own volition because I just put all my efforts mentally, physically, emotionally into somebody else. I put all my worth into somebody else, which it's nothing to say against them, but that's wrong for you to do to anybody. You shouldn't put your worth in anybody else ever. Not a kid, not a significant other, not a friend, not a parent, no one. Your self-worth should be with you. I realize that now. And I started doing YouTube again, and then at the same time, that person and somewhat others, I had to cut out of my life because they were going down a very dark path, not in the same regard, but they were, again, doing things I didn't want in my life. And I had to separate myself from that because you can't help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. I wanted to build my life and continue and grow, and I really wanted to be around these people, but very quickly I was seeing that if I stayed around them, not only were they going to continue to hurt themselves in this negative way, not again physically or anything like that, but in this, at least at this point, this way, but I was going to get hurt in the process as well. And there's nothing I could have done to help them. If there was, I probably would have stuck it out, been in as much pain as I could have been in, because I could take pain, fuck it, I would have took it, helped them through it. But I realized that there was no amount of help I could have given if they didn't want to help themselves. And I realized that they didn't. And I realized then that negativity was just getting turned towards me and the people I care about. So again, I had to do one of the most difficult things I ever did in my life and cut that person that I really loved and cared about out of my life. And that was very difficult because I knew to express myself and move forward and to do all that, I had to do that. That was what needed to be done for both them and both for myself. And again, as you guys can see this whole expression, you can't hold yourself back. You can't repress yourself. That's how depression and things form, is when you repress yourself. You got to live your truth. Do what you love. Be around the people you love and care about. Be around people who are going to help you grow. And at that time, the job wasn't what I loved and cared about. I wasn't living my truth. I didn't love waking up every morning and going to Target. This person who I loved and cared about wasn't doing what was best for them, and it was going to hurt me. I needed to live my truth and do what was going to do best for me and the people I cared about. And despite how hard it was, I needed to cut them out because I knew that would help them and it would help me. And then I started to really learn from people and resonate. I started to grow and learn about expressing yourself, and then like getting into people like Gary Vee, who just expresses himself fully. And that's the thing. He's like, wake up and do what you fucking love, and perspective and empathy and all those good things. And I learned about that. And I learned you got to express yourself. And Warren Buffett loves what he does. And people like Richard Branson loves what he does. And I learned about all these people who love what they do, and they express themselves, and they give to the world, and they provide value. Jeff Bezos, a lot of people sees as just building a company. That company, Amazon, provides value to so many fucking people. How many people use Amazon? How many people get Amazon orders? How has that affected price? How has it affected industry? How many jobs has that given people? He provides a ridiculous amount of value, and that's something that I started to realize is if I do what I love, provide value to people, and help them live this life, as Bezos would say, service and adventure, that's an amazing, wonderful life. As Steve Jobs would say, I went back to this quote of, if you live every day and you don't want to do what you're going to do today, make a change. And I said, no, I don't want to do this today too many days in a row, so I needed to make a change and live that life of service and adventure. So I started learning from people who've done it, learning from their example, learning from YouTube, discovering things, getting better, and I said, fuck it. Unfortunately, I had to cut these people I love and care about in my life, but who were going to be a negative to me and themselves. This job I hate. I hated working at Target. Towards the end, it wasn't a bad job, but you just start to build yourself up emotionally. I loved the people there. They were amazing people. The money was good, but I realized very quickly that I wasn't accepted and appreciated there by upper level management because I didn't care some days and wouldn't show up. But then when the days I was there, I'd fucking kick ass. 97% of the time I was there. That was like my attendance rating. But you call off, once a month. They don't really look fondly on that. And then they gave me a 7-cent raise, and I wanted to tell them to go fuck themselves. Some management changed and they were more corporate oriented instead of helping and goofing around and being for the person and the customer like, hey, let's have fun and do the absolute best we can to help the customer. That's what I had as management before. It changed to, oh, hey, are you doing your metrics? Have you done this? Let's talk about the new anagram. I'm like, shut the fuck up, you dumb fucking bitch. But I'm not a negative person, but please, really, when you're a manager like that and you just genuinely don't care about your people, you shouldn't be in charge. I don't care how good your fucking metrics are. You're a cancer to a company at that point. I'm sorry. And I left to do my own thing then at that point. And I did this. I did a t-shirt brand, which, mixed things on how that's going now. But I tried it and I'm happy I did. I did my own thing. I learned. I got better. I got happy. I started doing things. And I was getting this forward momentum and I was just happy to wake up every day. Selling things on eBay, just really fucking going for it. And then the only downside I see to that was, again, the people I love and care about took a back seat, similar to how it was at Target. I was more a self-moving train at that point. And I had time for, but didn't quite have the same time I did when I worked there for them. And that's the only thing I think is you got to find a good medium with that. Like, you do your fucking thing, move, live your truth, live your life, but make sure you have some time for the people you love and care about, especially if you want to be around family. If your truth is you love your family and your friends so much, then you got to obviously make time for them. But I became more self-focused and self-energized. I didn't put my energy in other people again. It was just me and what I did and the things I wanted and the things I loved. And I did that, and it was amazing. And it was about 6 months from there, from August to November, I was fucking kicking ass. I was doing my thing. I was learning. I was being better. I Kaizen, get better every day, kicking ass, living my truth, and being me. And then at that point, I reconnected with some of the same people that I had to leave my life. I got better. They wanted to grow and get better and do things similar to what I was doing at that point. I want to grow and get better and live my truth and be happy and want good people around me. And they're like, yes, I fixed my issues. I thank you for doing that. I got thanked, which was great. Even though it was still a very difficult decision. And then we reconnected and yes, let's go on this adventure. This is going to be amazing. Let's be friends and reconnect and everything's going to be amazing. And at that time, I still didn't have the best appreciation with friends and business and everything I did, but relationship wise, I didn't fix that aspect. I was amazing in a lot of other things. That's one aspect I never fixed, which, if you want to build a relationship with somebody, is kind of important thing, And I did the same thing I did before and focused all my efforts mentally and physically towards them. Not that they asked at all, but I stopped doing the things I loved. I became more of a depressive mindset. I changed my diet and started eating worse foods and gained 10 pounds. My life got worse because I took my focus off improving myself and solely put it towards the self-worth and love I feel towards this other person. And first off, I want to say, if they ever see this, I'm sorry. That wasn't fair to you. And I know now that was wrong. I completely understand that. But similarly, or not but and similarly, I also then damaged myself by not being myself and expressing myself and being who I am and living my truth. The thing I just left to go do, I stopped doing. Because my priorities had changed. I wanted to be with this person and hang out with them and do this and drop whatever the fuck I'm doing and becoming needy, and it just wasn't good. It wasn't really who I am, but I was seeking so desperately that love from another person that's what would happen, especially somebody I resonated with. And to this degree still feel not understood a lot. Like I said, it may be boisterous to put it out there, but I see myself as a pretty great person who can do awesome things. But when I come up with ideas and I'm crazy and I do this or I start a YouTube channel, a lot of people, my friends, they accept me and they love me, but they're like, Joe, I don't know what the fuck you're on, man. You're crazy, bro. Do your thing, do you. I'm happy for you. But what the fuck? Or sometimes it's very negative, like, Joe, you're a fucking idiot. Why the fuck are you dropping out of college? But I need to live my truth. That may not be good for you, but it's what's good for me. And I understand them, but they can't understand me. is the unfortunate part of it. I'm accepted and loved by the people around me, but there's a strong portion of it that I feel they don't understand me. Because I'm out there, you know? It takes a lot to fucking put yourself out there emotionally like this on the world, and write a book and do things and resell and start a business and all that. And it's something that's, you know, it's not very common. And when you're someone who's uncommon, you look at any of the high successful people. Again, I'm putting myself in that crowd. You know, I guess, sorry if I come off as, I understand I may come off as a little boisterous with that, but that's how I see myself. And when you're like that, you're going to be misunderstood by people. That's just how it is. A lot of people aren't going to understand you. A lot of people are going to think you're fucking nuts. A lot of people aren't going to accept you. Again, I have a lot of people who accept me, but they don't quite understand me. And at that point, I felt that was somebody who understood me. And when you're not caring about yourself and you don't really love yourself in that regard, and not experiencing your truth and living your life the way you want to live it, and then you put all this energy into somebody else who you feel understands you, and then you get shut out emotionally from it, it becomes hurtful and difficult, and, you know, it breaks your heart, to kind of put it that way. Because you have someone who you felt understand you, finally understands what you're going through and who you are and all this, and you connect and you vibe and everything's great, but you still have the underlying issue, so you put all your self-worth into them, and then it becomes a problem, and then you get rejected by it. It hurts. So at that point, let me see. At that point, obviously, I had stopped YouTube again. I then had to kind of refine myself, and I understood that as I grow now more, you know, all the people who, again, they may not understand me, but they sure as hell fucking accept me. And I have these people in my life who love and care about me, despite whether they understand me and get where I'm coming from or not. They rally around me and they help me, and allowed me to then get back to where I was before this, of this self-momentum, and like, I get it now. I understand why things didn't work out with certain people in my life, because I was putting all that effort into them. I didn't have that self-love. I wasn't self-contained with it. I wasn't on a mission. I didn't have my own path to do things. And now I do. Now I have a better understanding. I understand more of myself. I understand more of who I am. I have more of my truth and live my truth on a daily basis. Not for somebody else, not out there putting my self-worth into other people. My self-worth is entirely in me. And I get to live my truth of helping people, being creative, and just being my misunderstood fucking self. And that's essentially the goal of it, is if you wake up every morning, you're happy doing what you're doing, and you Kaizen, you get better day by day, and you just live your truth. You help people, you live that life of service and adventure, if that's what your truth is. And that's what it is for me. I no longer hate myself like I did as a kid. I live my truth. I am who I am. If I want to improve, I make those improvements. I get better at least a little bit every day. I have people around me who I love and care about, but who I don't put my self-worth into. I want to live that life of service and adventure. If something is not good too many days in a row, I make that change. I now am completely self-sufficient in who I am and what I love. But like I said, no man's an island, so I have those people around me who I love and care about and who bring me up. And of course, things may change. Of course, things may get better. I may look back, 2 years from now and say, wow, I was fucking crazy back then. I wish I would have done this, this, and this. But right now, I understand who I am, what I want to do, the people around me, and I'm happier. And it took some devastating things to do that, It took... You start off realizing who you are and loving yourself and living your truth, and you go through these things of people hurting you, not feeling understood, and finally feeling understood and loving somebody so much, and then they shut you down emotionally. For the right reasons, frankly. It's what I needed to kickstart me into being myself again. And now that's affected, and hopefully I never go through that negative portion of me not being myself again. And I thank them for doing that, because, if I ever get the chance to say it again, thank you, because that's really what I needed, to be me again. And that's who I am, is I live my truth. I'm myself. I fully express myself, and I'm 22 years old, going to be 23 soon. I don't have it all figured out. But as long as I'm being myself, I'm figuring out who I am, I'm doing my thing, I'm enjoying it. YouTube may not be the primary thing. Like I realized I didn't love doing the social media, and editing's kind of I love making videos and talking to people and helping. I love comic books, I love the resale, I love creating things, I love doing all that. And that's my truth. And things may change and all that, but as long as I'm living my truth, I'm happy when I wake up in the morning. I have people around me who love and care about me. Maybe I should go out and find more people who understand me. That's maybe something I could add to do better. But as long as I have people who love and care about me and want to see me succeed, I continue to improve, I continue to be happy, and I continue to be myself. That's a pretty great fucking life. So I think that's where I'm going to end it. It's obviously a long story. This is a longer video. That's the gist of it. Is there's going to be portions inside when people don't understand you. You're going to put a lot of you're going to look for people to kind of plug your self-worth into, but don't. The people who don't understand you, even if they accept and love you, awesome. But you can't look for understanding from other people. You got to have understanding of yourself. You can't do things that you don't love and that, in fact, maybe you hate. You got to do the things that you love. You got to wake up happy every day. You got to be the master of your own destiny. I'm not saying, go and start a business or do this or go find someone or whatever. I'm saying whatever your truth is, you got to live it. You got to do your thing. Don't put your self-worth in other people. Understand, hey, this is who I am and this is what the fuck I got, and express that to the world. Don't look for other people to understand. Okay, you don't understand me, but you accept me? Awesome, as long as you're here and you're the best person for me. Like, I have a great group of friends and family. If you're there and you're that good person, I'm happy to have you around. If you're not, and you don't understand me and you don't feel the best for me, like some people I've cut out of my life, or the people who've cut me out of their lives, awesome, cool, that's cool. You're free not to like me. Go do your thing. I'm going to do mine. Do what you love. Don't hurt yourself in that. Don't repress yourself. Express yourself and be yourself fully and truly. So, I hope you guys like this video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below. What's your story? How do you express yourself and live your truth? I know this was a long one, but and kind of emotional, but I feel like it's something that could definitely help a lot of people. I don't know. I had this big thing written out. If you see me, look there. There's a lot of things I wanted to say that I don't think I quite articulated the way I thought I was. A lot of people in my life have come and gone that I would like to talk about, but again, I don't want to hurt people or paint them in a negative light because that's not fair. That's not who they are. I had a lot of good people in my life who I love and care about, and I genuinely wish the best from everybody because that's who I am. I'm Joseph Coizza, and I'm here to help.